Municipalities in KwaZulu Natal are violating residents' rights by failing to provide them with clean drinking water. That's according to the Human Rights Commission in its report into the water crisis in KZN. It conducted an inquiry in eThekwini last year where it engaged residents and other participants. Widespread water shortages and inconsistent supply have been troubling many communities in KwaZulu Natal. eNCA reporter Lethiwe Mdluli has been following this story for us, and she's joining us now live to give us an update. Good afternoon, Lukele. Welcome to today. I see the Human Rights Commission today finally releasing its report into the water crisis in KwaZulu Natal. Tell us about some of the key findings.
Well, Praten, as you'd remember that we've been covering a lot of stories across the province where residents have been complaining about the lack of water in their areas. And today, the South African Human Rights Commission, of course, released its report, basically detailing some of the issues that a lot of communities in the province have been facing. Some of the findings from the South African Human Rights Commission is that municipalities, most municipalities here in the province, have failed to provide clean drinking water. And some of the findings as well include the fact that even water boards in the province are not providing the proper water to communities. Yesterday, I actually went to Ntuzuma, one of the townships that has been without water for years, and I spoke to residents because we were basically checking whether they have any faith in this report, and they were saying that unfortunately since last year they have been without water. Ntuzuma is not the only area. There's also other areas. Uku district in the province is one of those places. Since 2016 they've had ongoing water issues, and in this report it does say that the Uku district municipality had more complaints. The commission does say that they've received over 600 complaints since 2020, and this is why this investigation started last year. And of course, in its conclusion, they are saying that they found that government entities throughout KZN are violating people's rights by not providing them with clean water. Of course, the most affected being women and children, because those are the people that have the burden of having to go and fetch water from rivers if there is no water in their communities. And also, we did find that a few hospitals in the province are also without water, which is something that the Human Rights Commission is saying that is quite dangerous, because those vulnerable people are in hospital and unfortunately they don't have access to water. Of course, even the staff at these hospitals are also in danger because they don't have access to carry on their work, such as operations. We did visit one of the hospitals in the Zululand area a few months ago, and we spoke to doctors and we spoke to residents as well, and they were raising quite a lot of issues, saying that the hospital has not been with water since 2019. So it's a whole issue that we're facing here in KwaZulu Natal. But when the Commissioner, Lethiwe Mdluli, was delivering some of their findings a bit earlier on, this is what she had to say.
The Commission finds that in KwaZulu Natal, municipalities in general and water services authorities in particular have violated residents' rights to access clean drinking water, as provided for in international, constitutional, and statutory provisions. This violation of rights is aggravated by the pervasive sense of neglect, disregard, and in some instances contempt for people's suffering and their attempts to engage with their municipality through officials and elected representatives. The extent of the challenges in access to water and the rights violations expressed and experienced by communities, evidenced by the complaints tabled by residents and communities across the province of KwaZulu Natal, is profound and indicative of systemic failures in water provisioning and the violation of multiple human rights. The impact on the rights, livelihoods, and dignity of communities is particularly aggravated in impoverished communities and vulnerable households.
So, Lukele, what about recommendations that have come out of this report?
Well, Praten, the Commission has essentially given government entities in KwaZulu Natal 12 months to implement some of their recommendations or some of the findings. They are saying that if the government entities do fail to implement their recommendations, they will take the matter to the court, even the High Court. They are also saying that they are engaging with Parliament as to address this water crisis. They are also saying that the legislature here in KwaZulu Natal should be the ones who are going to be talking to the politicians and also talking to the relevant departments to make sure that these communities that have been without water for months, some for years, do get water and are provided with water. And Praten, one of the most important things that came out of this briefing also that I forgot to mention was the fact that the Commission has found that there's been a lot of corruption with the tankering system. You'd remember that if a community doesn't have water, the municipalities normally use water tankers to provide water to these communities. Now the Commission is saying that they've found that people with money have more access to these water tankers, meaning that they buy their water from the people that are meant to be servicing the communities, which is something that a lot of communities have been telling us over the past few months, that they are unable to get water from these tankers. Unfortunately, you have to pay at least 500 rands to get water. Now, the Commission is saying that municipalities should be aware of this, but unfortunately they are not, because there's just poor planning on their side. When we asked them about if the entities fail to implement some of their recommendations, what will happen? Of course, they did say that the matter will then go to the presidency or either the High Court. This is what the Commissioner had to say about that.
The Commission recommends that the Department should annually monitor the implementation of the Blue Drop and Green Drop reports findings by municipalities, including technical measures proposed, and report to the Commission on an annual basis. The Department is to engage COGTA and local councils on annual municipal infrastructure self-assessment findings, monitor take-up of recommendations, and report to the Commission annually. The Commission further recommends that the Department must drive a process to ensure the transformation of catch management forums and water user associations to include diverse communities and increase community buy-in and representation, and implement enhanced community awareness, education, and advocacy programs. Further, guided by Section 62 of the Water Services Act, read with Section 154 of the Constitution, the Department is to pay more focused attention to monitoring the effective performance of water services institutions in the province. The Department is to further invoke, where appropriate, powers in terms of Section 63 of the Water Services Act to take over the water services function in parallel with COGTA powers in terms of Section 139 of the Constitution to put municipalities under administration for failing to deliver water.
That's Ms. Mdluli, the KwaZulu Natal Human Rights Commission, ending that update by Lethiwe Mdluli on the findings that municipalities in KZN are violating the rights of the residents by not providing clean drinking water.